If you give me somebody who can write a sad song that makes me so sad I want to throw up, I am yours forever. As soon as I started playing her newest album, that was the first one I listened to, and that first song came on, and like 3 lines in, I was crying. I was like, cool, I think I'm gonna like this. Because I started with her second album and then like worked my way backwards.
Yeah.
And that first song came on and it had that like voice memo, and then it was her singing, and like the first verse alone I was just like, oh, okay. And I think I'm gonna like this, which maybe is something I should talk to my therapist about. Welcome to the Siren Songbook, a podcast where we discuss female artists, their music, their history, and the impact they've made on the music industry. Join us each month as we pick a new inspirational artist and celebrate exactly what it is that makes them so magical. I even wrote down the episode number before we do the intro so that I'm not like, what number are we again? Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 22 of the Siren Songbook. I like how I said that so proud. Episode 22 of the Siren Songbook. I'm Amy.
I'm Kasey.
And today we are discussing Cat Burns, which I know at the end of the last episode we were like, it's going to be a surprise. And then it ended up being a surprise to us too, because we did decide on someone at the end of the last episode, but I forgot to write it down. And then somehow this artist popped up in my notes and I was like, that's who we're doing, right? And Kasey was like, I don't think so, but we can. And so she kind of came to us by surprise. I was saying, like, I felt like it was definitely one of those, and Doechii felt like this to me last year too, like around the same time. Like, I feel like I've been going through it, and then an artist comes and I feel like this renewed sense of purpose listening to their music, or like new inspiration to do things again.
Yeah.
I think it was last year around this time that we had started trying to do the Artist's Way, which we didn't complete. But
Down to start it again. Let's go.
Round 2, try it again.
Round 2. We're seriously serious this time. Seriously.
I did do my the morning journals. I did one of those yesterday because I was having a really rough morning with anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I still do that every once in a while, but I definitely did not complete.
I not to get super dark, but I think part of the reason why I couldn't do morning pages consistently was this has a point, and this is why I'm bringing it up. My my senior dog was really struggling and really sick, and so I'd have to wake up extremely early with her and immediately start my day with getting her meds and her this and her that and blah blah blah. And by the time I had any time to sit down by myself, I like just didn't have the gas to do the morning pages.
Yeah.
Because at that point it wasn't like, the whole point of the morning pages is you just wake up and write, and I like couldn't do that. But I'm bringing this up because when I started listening to her latest, Cat Burns' latest album, How to Be Human, the opening track is, about her grandfather passing away. And it immediately hit me too, because it was like, because my senior dog has just recently passed. And like, especially not to, I know some people find it rude to equate animals to humans in some way, but it doesn't matter. Like, whatever that person, like, there's this part in the song, or one of the songs, and I think the second song is, Can Time Move Faster?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up because I think in that particular situation, she's talking about an ex that she broke up with. But there's a lot of like voice memos in this album, which is very confessional in the way that Adele has done that too in 30. And, she's crying and she's just like, I just want to skip to the part where it hurts less. I mean, she says it differently, but like,
yeah,
I was feeling that same thing.
Oh yeah,
like
that was
So, like, immediately that hit me because I've been dealing with that too, where, you know, there's a part of you that's like, "God, I'm so glad you're not in pain anymore, but I don't want to start over and start living my life because I want you to still be in it," you
Yeah.
know? So, that's how this album kinda hit me, um, you know, about, like, grief and loss, like, I've been dealing with that myself too, so in the same vein that you were talking about how it kinda hit you when you needed to hear it, this is the same thing, and I feel this, like, renewed sense of, like, okay, maybe it is time to kinda start over on the things that I maybe started a year ago that I put to the side to care for my baby,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so I found that pretty profound as I was listening through the album a couple of times.
Yeah. And she's very good at like beginning grief all the way through the like healing. And
Yeah.
we'll jump into the album. Girl, I had so much trouble picking favorites to talk about, so I wrote down a lot of lyrics.
Good, yes.
Um I listened to her latest album first, and then I went back to her first one, and then I realized there was a deluxe. And I really love some of the shit on the deluxe part of it.
What's funny is when I looked up Cat Burns' music, the way that Apple Music works is they just have, um their albums, it's like there's 4 on there. There's, like, the Go remixes. Early
Hmm.
20s is her first album, and How to Be Human is her second. Early 20s has an instrumental album, and I
Yeah, I saw
immediately
that.
so I click on the remixes first, and then I saw that they were all featuring other artists, and I was like, "Okay, well, that's not" it's one song, it's Go
Yeah.
with a bunch of different people on it, and I was like, "Okay, I'm just not even gonna listen to that." And then I went to early 20s, that second one, because I like to go back to front, like, oldest to
Yeah.
newest. I saw early 20s instrumental, but I didn't read the instrumental part. I got halfway through the album before I was like, "Isn't there supposed to be singing?" Like, "Wait a
I
minute, what's
did
going
see she
on?"
had an instrumental, which was so interesting to me because I don't ever.
Well, I really like it actually. I was like, "Okay, so maybe I'll have that on in the background when I'm, like, getting work done." And so then I click
Yeah.
on the next album. They don't have on Apple Music listed right currently, I'm looking at it. They have the instrumental and then they have the deluxe. I don't know what the original lineup of songs are, but it's 25 on my end. That's all
Yeah.
I thought there was. And I
Well,
was like,
that's
"Damn, 25 songs on an album, that's crazy."
I was joking with Leo a little bit because I was listening to it while I was cooking the other night. And I was like, she's so good. And I was like, but this is one thing that I noticed that like artists tend like a lot of artists do now, where they have
Oh, the
one song and
deluxe
they
thing.
just do like 7 versions of that song.
I have seen that. Or they have like it's like an EP of the same song, and it's like sped up, slowed down, instrumental.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
There
I
was I
think it
was
has something
like,
to do with TikTok, but I don't understand it very well.
yeah. I told him,
But
I
hey,
said,
you know what? Sorry, go
they
ahead.
had, oh no. I was just saying they had like one with Sam Smith. I was like, I get that. That's a big catch to
Yeah.
have Sam Smith sing on your song with you. Like, so you have, maybe you have your original and then you have the Sam Smith version and then you have a remix, like a dance remix or something. I could understand that, but there was like 7 versions of it.
Yeah, there's a lower and slower version, a higher and faster version, a piano version. I think if I remember correctly, I think it was explained to me once, or I just happened to kind of put all the pieces together, that especially in 2020 when I think Go came out, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 2020, you know, TikTok kind of gets big. And the biggest thing with TikTok, because a lot of music was like not licensable, like you couldn't use it. So they
Mm-hmm.
would speed songs up or slow them down. And then it became kind of popular to do that. Where like some people genuinely prefer like the sped up version where like there's a higher pitched voice or this and that
Yeah.
as the background of songs. That's not really kind of how TikTok operates today in 2026, but back then that was relatively normal. And so I think artists started releasing actual certified versions of that so they could still get royalties. Because I think if they altered the song enough in like 2019, 2020
Oh.
to avoid copyright issue, artists wouldn't get anything of that. So I think after, what was it, UMG cut a deal because like they pulled a bunch of songs off and
Yeah.
and they reached an agreement. I wonder if that had something to do with it as well because the Go remixes came out in 2022, a whole 2 years later. So,
Oh, okay.
and I want to say UMG's issue with TikTok kind of was around that time, if I remember, but also, interesting. Music rights are just as they're a whole mess of things, and especially now that we're in this dawn of AI music and stuff, music rights have just gotten really, we're people are trying to find ways of getting about it.
Yeah.
There's news that came out. This is somewhat relevant to just our podcast in general, talking about music. Taylor Swift recently copyrighted her or trademarked her face, like her likeness and her name. And I
Oh,
think the
wow.
reason why was to combat a lot of like AI usage. And now that she's done it, I think a lot of other artists are going to start doing that too, um, which I think is a good thing. And I think also UMG, or yeah, Universal Music Group, they just sold their Spotify shares. And somehow she got this configured or like figured out when she signed with them back in like 2018 or something, that if that happens, then those shares, like the money that they make off of that, has to go back to the artists, because they are sharing or they are selling the stock they bought with the money from artists' music. I
Oh.
thought that was really interesting. Not
Yeah.
related necessarily to what we're talking about, but just interesting in the world of music royalties and licensing and all that stuff. We're
Yeah.
seeing it, it's an ever-changing landscape, and we still never really figured out how to, properly
Deal with streaming.
um deal with streaming. That's been a problem for almost 30 years now. When they started ripping music back in like the late 90s, early
Yeah.
2000s. And we still haven't figured out how to deal with that, and now we're dealing with AI on top of it. It's just,
Well, it's funny because I said, I think I said it out loud when I was in the kitchen. I was like listening to something and she wrote something and I went, "Whoo!" I went, "That's so good." And then I went, "AI could never."
dude, for real. I know that we maybe I can't even speak. We maybe have never openly had a stance on this podcast about it. If anyone does out there listen, I just want you guys to know we are very anti AI music.
Yeah.
And there's no way. I've been seeing so many bigger artists get asked this question lately, and the way they want to dance around saying it, just straight up, AI music is not, you are not creating something.
Yeah.
And I've literally heard the CEO of Suno, which is like the biggest AI music
Yeah.
generator thing, talk about how, well, learning an instrument is just so hard. People don't want to spend the time on that.
I
Okay, well then
literally
you don't
posted
get to
that the other
do
day.
it. Yeah. It's just so like, hey man, if you don't want to put the time into something, then you don't get to do it. It's like
Yeah.
you and I are really big into crafting, and that's very tactile work, use with your
Mm-hmm.
hands. I know that, yeah, while there's a lot of people that will generate AI sewing patterns, and that pisses me the fuck off. Like, no, AI can't take my physical movement of cutting fabric and moving it across my sewing machine.
Yeah.
Like, those are the types of things that, but the thing that we do the most, the thing that we love the most, the thing that makes us who we are, which is we're both musicians. People are so keen on, quote unquote, leveling this made up playing field. Hey, we just spent more time on it.
Yeah.
I just started, and you can start at any point. It is okay. You can learn how to, write music. You can learn how to produce. There is infinite information, whether that be on YouTube, whether that be on, just online in general. You don't need to go to a college, whatever. There is no barrier for entry.
Yeah.
You're creating one. And I'm sorry, I won't listen to AI music. I won't listen.
Mm-mm.
I don't interact with AI generated art at all. I just don't.
And that's,
As long as I can help it,
I was thinking just the other day, I was like, I remember how it started and it was like so like at first it was innocent and then like I remember seeing people saying I use AI to write music and I was like, that's
Well, then you didn't write
I
it.
don't yeah, I don't know that I like that. And then they were like, "Well, no, I just like I'll throw some ideas and they'll spit some lines back at me and then like I get ideas from that." And I was like, I
That's not.
mean, if you're not using, but why not sit with somebody else? Like, why not sit with another person and spit the ideas back and forth?
The way that we were taught how to
Like,
write, um, the way that we were taught how to write, like paragraphs when we were kids, or how to write full
yeah,
blown essays, where you do have like a page where you're just writing ideas, like, your rough draft, and then you start
yeah,
actually writing the song. Just do that. You
Yeah.
know, you don't need AI to immediately spit something back at you. The other day, I sat and I pulled up the thing that I learned how to write, like how to keep to a main idea in writing was, those bubble charts
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you have the big bubble in the middle that has like that's what you're writing about, or that could be the song title, and then a bunch of ideas out from
That stem out
around
from
it.
that. Yeah.
Right. And then they, trigger thoughts and patterns. Then I go, okay, but what about this line? Okay, but what about this line? I wrote so quickly. I wrote this song in like 25 minutes, and it was exactly what I wanted to say because
Yeah.
I went back to the old ways of me writing a paragraph when I was a kid and sticking to the
Mm-hmm.
thesis statement. Like it's not it's actually not that difficult. And the reason why it might be hard for someone to just start writing out of nowhere is because it takes practice. That's the whole point of morning pages. Like if you want to get into the arts, like pick up the artist way. The whole point
Yeah.
of the artist way is you just start writing, and like most songwriting books will literally tell you the same thing. Get up every morning and just free write. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be good or about anything in particular. You just set a timer for like 10, 15 minutes and you just that pen hits paper, blah, 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 blah. And you work on that more and more and more every day. And it helps you build that muscle to be able to think rapidly and creatively. You
And
don't need AI.
that's, Janelle and I met a month or so ago to like just sit down and write. And we had so many ideas, but like I have 3 or 4 pages that are just like, it's a mess. It looks insane, but it's literally just like lines with a line drawn around it or a circle over here. And then like an arrow that goes over here.
It only has
Yeah.
to make sense to you. And that is that's how you foster creativity is,
Yeah.
for me, I can't just like pull a song out of my ass. I have to like think on an idea. The song that I wrote the other day, I was thinking about the like taxi cab theory, which is something I see people talk about on social media quite a bit. And I didn't understand it too much, but I think the origin of it is from a Sex and the City episode where she talks about the taxi cab theory has something to do with men, and they don't marry like the one. They marry the one that's there when they're ready to get married. That's not all men. That's just some men. It's like a concept that I see often where people are in a relationship for long periods of time and then they break up with that person, and then the man within like a year is married to somebody else because they weren't it's not that they didn't love the person that they were with for 7-8 years. It was that they weren't ready to get married then. And now the next person that gets in their car when they get in the taxi, when the light's on for them to pick up people, it's like this like the fair.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really cool. And like I was like, I would love to write a song. The name the title of the song is Taxi. And I
Yeah.
was
That'd be really cool.
And so I was like using that bubble and trying to figure out where I wanted to go with it because I didn't want it so on the nose, like, I was hailing a cab and you picked me up and like not that kind of thing. But then I
Yeah.
like started thinking within like seconds, I was like, what if it's, you meet someone at a bar and they're whispering you all these like pretty things, because we're drunk and we're lonely and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, immediately he's pulling up all these ideas like we should get married, we should have kids. And instead of, when you're drunk and stupor, but being like, yeah, I think this is a good idea. You're like, wait, taxi, I think you need to drop me off right here. Because, you
I
should be
love
taking
that.
a taxi. It's like instead of taking a taxi to, to get to his place, it's kind of that same, it was like trying to turn the thought on its head.
Yeah.
So, but like you can do that with writing. Like I was taught this like years ago in a songwriting course that I took, which is outlining is the best way to write a song. The best way to write anything. It's not going to immediately poop out of you.
Yeah. Well, I was so excited when Janelle and I were writing and like also there's something about that excitement when you start coming up with lines on your own and you're like, damn.
There's no greater high.
Look,
there really is no greater high.
And then like we were talking and like one of the lines I said was there's nothing new under the sun. And I kept coming back to that. And Janelle's like, I'm just going to look up where that came from. It's actually a Bible verse.
Oh.
And so then we ended up reading this like whole chapter, which then led us to writing a whole bunch of other stuff from that chapter because it fits so perfectly into what we were writing about. And
yeah,
like there's nothing like you said, there's no high like when that happens and you're just like, wow.
I think, if you are utilizing AI, I definitely think that you're robbing yourself of what it really feels like to be creative, to spend time with an idea, ruminate over it, to do research like you did, to make a bubble chart like I did, and like when you know that that idea came from your own noggin, there's just like no greater joy. There really
Yeah.
isn't. And I've
And it
heard a lot of AI music in the short time that it's been a problem in my life, and it does not do anything to me. I don't feel affected in any way.
there's no authenticity to that,
No.
which comes back to why I immediately went AI could never with Kat Burns, because her music hits in a way that is just so authentically human. Like
Yeah.
you listen to it and you go, I've been through that. I understand that. I feel like before we jump into her lyrics and her albums, though, we should go through her Wikipedia a little bit first. She doesn't have much of a history. Do you have it pulled up?
I do, yes.
Okay, I'll let you go then.
But yeah, Kat Burns was born June 6, 2000, which makes a lot of sense when she's talking about Gemini season in one of her songs on her latest album, because she is a Gemini herself. She's a British singer-songwriter who gained prominence with her 2020 single Go. The song's popularity increased in 2022 through TikTok, reaching number 2 on the UK singles chart. It's a very gospel pop influence with guitar-led indie music. She was nominated 3 times for the BRIT Awards, which I think is super, super sick. She was born outside of London in the United Kingdom. Her mother is of Jamaican descent. Her father is Nigerian, which I bring that up because her grandfather, she talks about in one of her songs, talking about losing him in How to Be Human, kind of about how, like, you made this big, bold sacrifice to leave what you knew to come over to somewhere that you've never been to before to start a new life for yourself. Which I think is really powerful too. She recorded her debut EP Adolescent at the age of 16 while studying at BRIT School. She collaborated with fellow students who had access to a recording studio in their garden, and the songs they created formed the basis of the EP, which Burns self-released on the 1st of October in 2016. Despite her efforts to secure a record deal afterwards, she faced challenges as the music industry seemed uncertain about how to handle her unique style as an artist. Totally understand. Subsequently, Burns released her second EP, Naive, on May 15th, 2019. In 2020, during the COVID-19 lockdown in the United Kingdom, Burns garnered widespread attention by sharing covers and original songs on TikTok. Her song Go went viral, leading to a record deal with Since 93, a subsidiary of RCA Records. Originally released in 2020, Go later reached number 2 on the UK singles chart, like I said, second to Harry Styles' As It Was, which that song and that album won Album of the Year, the Grammys. In 2022, she supported Years and Years frontman Ollie Alexander on the UK leg of his Night Call tour, and also accompanied Ed Sheeran on select dates of his Mathematics tour.
That makes sense.
Burns performed Go and People Pleaser on Jules' annual Hootenanny 2022, following her early debut on Later with Jules Holland in May. In September of 2025, Burns was announced as a contestant on the first series of BBC's The Celebrity Traders. I've heard about this show. I have never seen it.
I love The Traders, and I just read that this morning, and I went, well, I guess I know what I'm watching for the rest of the day. Because
I've never seen that show. I know that Bob the Drag Queen won like the first season here in the States.
He didn't win, but he was.
Oh, he didn't win. Oh my gosh.
No, he just
goes to
it was a big thing.
Was he supposed to win?
No. I wanted him to win. But it was because the way he got kicked out was this big explosive thing with I don't know if you do watch Survivor. Boston Rob.
Oh.
He came in and and now they do a podcast together.
And I say, I have watched during the pandemic, what I was doing was rewatching old Survivor seasons. And yeah, that's kind of his whole MO, is to just fuck people over. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
That's so funny.
I was just gonna say, I'm obsessed with The Traders though, and I've caught all the way up on the US, and so like I've been meaning to go watch the UK, and then I saw she was on the UK, and I was like, cool. So we're starting there.
I'll have to try and watch it. I don't normally watch a lot of reality TV, but I'm sure I'm missing out on something as I hear so many people talk about it.
And it's Alan Cummings is the host of the American one, and it's just so fabulous. It's queer. It's queer reality TV.
Okay.
If it exists.
Okay. Speaking of queer, we're going to talk about a personal life a little bit. Kat Burns is a lesbian, and I'm only bringing that up also because that's a prominent theme within her music, within her 2 albums. I also think that there is a different level of heartbreak to sapphic relationships that I like when she talks about, like, you know, when her and her partner break up and she feels like she can't breathe and is just trying to get through on Can Time Move Faster? Like when you feel like you're literally dying of a broken heart, I feel like that's very sapphic. That's very queer, you know? Queer relationships, I think, love on a deeper level. There's just a different layer of it, I in my opinion. But like I've had a situationship with a woman that was stung so fucking much. It like hit me for years. I was like bringing, and we like barely fucking dated. It just is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But in an interview with Gay Times, she explained that she initially struggled to reconcile her sexuality with her ethnicity, stating, "If you're a Black woman, I want you to feel heard and seen. We are vulnerable people who are capable of having lots of emotions, and being a Black queer woman adds a layer to that." Burns chronicled her experience with coming out to her family in her song Free. Burns also has ADHD and noted in an interview that she has often found this helpful in her creative process, explaining both the chords and words come at the same time, but the concept comes first, and I found that the system has always worked for me. It helps me with processing in the process of writing the songs, and it became a lot quicker, which is great for my ADHD brain. And in 2023, Burns was diagnosed as autistic, which she announced on social media. So a fellow ADHD here. Let's go, lady. But that's like a little bit of a breakdown of kind of, you know, who she is as a person, so you guys understand where we're coming from as we talk about some of her music.
I had written down too, just because I love this. On her Instagram bio, it says, "Helping you get through shit one song at a time." And I was just like, that encapsulates her so well. Because I do feel like listening to, I wish I had her album. You know, I know we were talking about like, it does feel very sapphic for like her to talk about heartbreak that way and stuff, but I was like, I wish that I had her album when I was going through some of my heartbreaks too, where it felt like I wouldn't, you know, like my last relationship before Leo, when we broke up, it wasn't so hard on me, but there was a time where we went on a break in between, and I did feel like I was dying because I thought I was going to be with that person forever. And so, you know, I do wish that I had her music, because it very much like didn't shy away from the parts where it hurt really bad, but then like showed the other side at the end, which I loved. But so we'll get into her music here. I kind of started from when her album started coming out. Was there anything you wanted to speak specifically about with the EPs or anything?
I think we could just focus on the albums, actually.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure before I jumped in her first album.
You're good. You're totally good.
So her first album was Early 20s, and that came out in 2024.
Yeah.
And I did laugh a little bit because she has a song on there that's No, You're Not Alone. And it's such a great song. The beginning says, "I'm not getting any younger. The years are catching up on me. I'm almost 23. And I went,
girl! I was listening to that when I was like I was working in the kitchen doing something. I think it was making oatmeal or whatever. And that line came on and I was like, girl,
come back to me when you're 33, okay?
Like I will say Early 20s is a funny album because it does feel so early 20s.
It does.
But there is a part of me that's like, I might be a little too old.
I was trying to remember.
Yeah,
I was like,
I was like, oh girl, please.
I do remember feeling a little lost when I was 23. So, I mean, I get it.
Was a hard year. So I do also, I think 23 is nobody's favorite year of life.
Yeah.
But I think in that song she says, I'm almost 23.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, dude.
Yeah. I mean, she was 22 when she wrote this.
girl.
And I was like, girl, you've been drinking for a year. Come back to me later.
Well,
Well, legally
she's from the
drinking
UK.
for a year. Oh, yeah, that's true.
The UK, so she's been drinking for a little bit.
She's been
That's
drinking
the
for a
thing
little
too,
bit.
and this is the thing that I have to like think about in the lens culturally, is that that while that seems extremely young here in the States, I don't think that that's considered very young in the
In the
UK,
UK.
because you can start drinking at 18. And so I like, and truly, like, definitely was I drinking before I was 21? Yes.
Yeah.
But like, I think that when you're seen as an adult fully, that's when you start to feel this real sense of adulthood. And here in the
Yeah.
States, like, yeah, you can vote at 18 and you can start paying taxes at 18 and all the other parts of adulthood, but you can't drink.
Yeah.
And so there's still something out of reach. Just like same thing, like you can't rent a car until you're 25 here in the States too.
Yeah.
And so it almost felt like I had all these roadblocks in the way of my early 20s, that like I still felt young until I hit like 25, 26, and then I was like, okay, now I am an adult, because
Yeah.
now there aren't any things that are cut off by restrictions. So I have to think about it that way too, of like, maybe like while here in the States, like hearing that line of, I'm not getting any younger, like I'm almost 23, is so like humorous.
Yeah.
Like if I thought about it, like if I thought about it from the lens of, okay, I grew up in the UK where you are
Yeah.
full blown an adult at 18, like that's 5 years later after being an adult, and like
Yeah.
fully. So I have to think about it. It is funny, like from the American lens in my like, or the American ear, it's it's a silly line. And also because I'm in my 30s. So like,
Yeah.
it's just, oh girl.
But what's funny is that whole song too. I was like, I mean, I'm 35 and I still relate to the like, I'm not quite where I want to, or I'm not where I want to be, where I want to be. But therapy has kind of helped me learn that it's okay to not be okay. Thought I'd be flying by now, but I feel so glued to the ground. I looked around and everybody's in the same boat. So let go and know that you're not alone. Like, I mean, it still applied to me at 35. I think when she was like, I'm 23. I was like, woo.
I think, you know what's funny? I felt more sure of where I was going at 23 than I do now at 30.
Yeah.
So I hate to say it to any of you that are a lot younger than us. Life just gets more confusing. I don't know the age in which everything starts to go, okay, I get it. And it's funny because, so many of our, like, at least here in the States, and I'm only talking from my perspective as born and raised in the US.
Yeah.
It's very common, or it was very common, like the generation before us, like my parents are Gen X, and my mom had me at 24, and that was considered kind of late. Like she got married at 20, and like people were like, so when are you going to have kids? And so it was really normal to then, like, once you were in your 40s, because I remember when my mom and all of her friends turned 40, and I think I was in high school maybe, and I think, or I was close to it, something like that. But like they all talked about like, oh, when you're in your 40s, you finally feel like you're coming into your own, like your kids are growing up and blah, 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 blah. And now, like, for millennials and Gen Z, like we're pushing back all these things later and later because, well, I mean, my parents got a house like right when they got married. My mom was 20 and she was a homeowner. That is just not like a reality here in the States. Everything is so unbelievably and fundamentally expensive that like, and I couldn't fathom having a child right now. I just couldn't. I just,
I do feel like it's a uniquely millennial. Like millennials are the first generation of like pushing back these ages that everybody was so used to.
I saw a video like I want to say earlier this week, and it was somebody that was Gen Z that was talking about like they were like mad at millennials because like they were like, you guys all act like we're lazy, but you're the last generation to get to do all this. And I was like, I think you're confusing us with Gen X.
Yeah.
I don't actually. I think the only millennials I know that have a house and they have, their kids are growing up in this, and these are like eldest millennials closer to Gen X. Like they're all in their like mid to late 40s. And like I am the youngest millennial. I just turned 30. The rest of the people of the last year millennials are 29 currently, turning 30. Like we're like I am nowhere near, like when they talk about like 2008 financial crisis and this and that. In 2008 I was 12.
Yeah, I was just graduating high school when the financial crisis happened.
Yeah, I literally like I remember sitting there being worried because like I watched my parents lose their house and I watched my dad, get laid off and stuff like that. But he was Gen X. He was I think in his 30s at the time. So I think people confuse
Yeah, I was
the
like,
generation. They think that it's millennials that are the ones at fault. And I'm like, hey, dude, I literally was a child.
yeah, I was like, I literally, I graduated the year that they like say everything fell apart. I graduated and went to go try to get a job that year. And the place that I was guaranteed work closed.
Oh, wow.
As soon as I graduated. And then I was trying to find work and then I found work. And then literally 3 months into me getting work, they cut our pay.
Which is what's kind of happening now.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. So not to go on that tangent, but, I think that, and I'm not saying Kat Burns is, she's not. I'm just going on a separate rant. I do feel like.
Yeah. No, it kind of.
Gen Z kind of thinks that millennials are the problem here. And I think that they forget we're actually not that old, dude. I like literally,
Yeah.
29, 30 is the cutoff for the last year millennials. First year Gen Z are turning 30 next year. So, and Kat Burns is actually like a month older than my youngest sibling.
Wow.
So, and I can't believe I was literally talking to our friend that's from out of town that came to visit us this week. And I was talking about my youngest sibling and I was like, I can't believe they're turning 26. And she was like, 26. And I was like, I know. Oh my God. That's what makes me feel old. I feel so baby because all of these milestones that you're supposed to hit by a certain age, they just are not, they're not happening for millennials.
Yeah.
That like, I still feel like I still feel very young because I don't have all of these. My mom was done having children and like in her third owned home by 30.
Yeah.
It's just not my reality. I don't.
my brother turns 30 this year and they just had their first kid. And I'm like, okay, now I feel slightly old. Thank you.
Dude. Yeah. It is so crazy. I didn't actually know that we were around the same age. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think I really ever knew that. I was like, I know you had a brother, but I don't think I ever actually have ever had a conversation with him either.
It's funny because like I feel like you're so much closer to my age than my brother is, but that's probably because I watched him grow up.
No, I feel that. I've also always had like older friends. When I hang out with people that are like around my age, like when I hang out with my sister and her friends, I'm like, ooh. I feel like a grandma. I need to go away.
But yeah, I don't.
Rough in the streets.
That line though, it just got me. I was like, yeah, come back when you're 33. But I mean, she's on a good trajectory right now. So maybe when she hits 33, she'll feel like she has her shit together. She's also not living in America, so.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, jumping into our album, I wrote a few songs here. The first one I wrote down was Alone. And just because I really, really loved the line of, I want to need you because I love you, not love you because I need you.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And so that line just really, me personally, on my own personal level, hit me really deeply. And it's also just a good song. Some other lines I wrote down was, I said that her song Jody had a very theater vibe to it, which I really enjoyed. Like that's a plus for me.
I do also really like Jody. That was one of the ones that stood out for me.
Yeah. It had this like, almost, it was very storytellery to me, and I could see it like being performed on a Broadway stage in a musical. And I was like, that was a plus for me. I know a lot of people would be like, ew, but for me,
I think for me, what stood out with Jody wasn't necessarily the lyrics, but more so like I really love the instrumentation of it. That and
Yeah.
False Hope I thought were just really beautifully, like beautiful
Yes.
sonically sounding songs.
Mm-hmm.
I just really liked the guitar playing and like it felt very like that's the kind of thing like, I love that she does have an instrumental album because those two songs I think would be on repeat just because I like the way that they sound so much.
Yes. And maybe that's it because like I didn't write down most of the songs I wrote down lyrics for. I didn't write down any lyrics for Jody. I just wrote down this feels like it belongs on a Broadway stage.
Yeah, no, I literally just wrote down Jody and then I put False Hope guitar. I didn't like write anything in particular that I was like, yes, this is the thing. But I'm like a big sucker for like good guitar picking. And I think
Yes.
because it's something I wish that I could do that I just have not spent time points getting better at. Um, but yeah, I think both of those songs sonically are really beautiful.
But then the beginning of the album I was like this is nice, like it's good, I like her other album better, and then we started getting to the end of that album and the deluxe stuff, and that's when
Hmm.
I started like You Don't Love Me Anymore is one of those songs that was so sad it made me want to throw up, and I went, ugh, yes, give me more, pump it straight into my
Mm.
veins.
Yeah.
Like um
I love
right
the visualization in the lyrics. Like, I feel something's off between us from the cold coffee left in your cup. These days are gone
yes.
before I wake up. I'm scared for you thinking, replaying every possible scene, take notes because I ain't done anything. My friend's pouring me another drink. That kind of, I feel that. Like, where it's
Yeah.
like before the breakup happens, it's just this like, you're walking on eggshells with this person and there's just a
Mm-hmm.
hollowness in the relationship that you're like, you used to fill me up and now I feel empty.
Yeah. And
Um
that's funny because that's the exact lyrics I wrote.
right.
I
And
was
like what I
like,
find also that I liked about it was like it would hurt less if you give me or if you gave me a reason, just something I can
yes.
keep when I have to watch you walking out the door. And what sucks is that sometimes it really is just that two people just like somebody just doesn't love you anymore and it wasn't
Yeah.
anything that you did in particular, and I've experienced that in my life, and I think that that's when heartbreak hurts the most is when you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, and
They
that's
just
that
don't want you anymore.
that leads to her next song, which she writes from the other perspective of being like, I think I'm out of love with you, and it's happier without, or the next song that I wrote down was happier without you.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't know what I'm feeling now. I'm almost scared to say this out loud. What if loving you's unhealthy? Would I feel good being away from you? What I'm saying is kind of crazy, but what if I can make me happier without you?
Yeah.
It's just so good. Should we maybe do our own thing? Are we staying where we're not supposed to? Scared it's going to make you hate me, but what if I can make me happier without you?
Yeah. She on Apple Music, she has like on the deluxe, there's Apple Music usually has like a little blurb about the album, but it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because she actually has a little bit of a breakdown on almost all of these songs that I think is really interesting.
Oh, that's
And
so cool.
with Happier Without You, she said it's about a friend again who came out of a long-term relationship, and I remember I was there for her quite a bit through her realizing that she did not want to be with him anymore, and this was not the right relationship for her, and I wanted to make a song that's sad and somber but hopeful at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
With You Don't Love Me Anymore, she said it's actually not about anything specific, but a concept I've always wanted to write about. I think the uncertainty of love is such a big thing for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people have that fear that someone will just leave them because they don't love them anymore. That swift
Mm-hmm.
change is really unsettling to think about. And I wanted to make a song about that, saying, I'd actually rather you have met someone else than just saying you don't love me anymore because I don't really know how to get closure from that.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. It's very interesting that like a lot of these songs do come from situations that she at the time hadn't experienced yet. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes her second album, like her sophomore album, really potent is because I think at that point she had
Some
experienced a lot of this.
experience. Yeah.
But like to even have a finger on the pulse enough to be able to write about something and it hit us who have experienced these like
Mm-hmm.
situations, um, you know, and I like, I don't know. I think that that's like a testament to her maturity and also her understanding of how the world works to be able to sit
Yeah.
there and say, I personally haven't experienced this, but I would assume this is what this is like.
Well,
And
and
to kind of nail it.
I had said earlier in the podcast that like I wished I had this when I was going through my previous breakups
Yeah.
because like I was in my early 20s when all this happened, and I did very much feel like what she's talking about in both of those songs, because I had mentioned that there was like a break period before, and like literally that breakup was I I had a friend say, "I don't think he loves you." And I called him up and I went, "She doesn't think you love me." And he just sat there quiet.
Wow. A fucking loser.
And I went, "Oh." And like, it's true. Like, I did not have any closure during that whole break because I was just like, "What do you mean you just don't love me?"
Right.
Like, it's been 5 years. What the fuck do you mean?
Right. And he could have been fucking strong enough to just leave instead of just,
Yeah.
work through that break and then just,
And that is something that like I had to work through when I got with Leo. Like I told him, I said like I do have this internalized fear that you're just going to wake up one day and be like, I'm not attracted to her and I don't love her anymore.
Yeah.
And that was, something that, I mean, sometimes I still like have to work through,
Yeah.
But the second song, Happier Without You, because I was actually, when we got back together, I was the one that called it off. I was the one who got balls one day and just went,
Yeah, fuck this and fuck you.
yeah. Like, look, I wish you all the best. I don't wish you any hate or anything. I think I could be happier without you. I'm fucking depressed all the time right now.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, like you said, the fact that like these weren't even necessarily things that she went through personally. It was like something she wanted to write about, and then something she wrote about a friend, but had such a pulse on it that she could write a song like that. That
Yeah.
really just captured it is really cool.
Yeah. I will say, like, as somebody with autism like her, I feel like there's this weird thing of, and I don't know if it's autism, I don't know if it's something else, but like I feel like even when I was a kid, I also used to write about things I personally hadn't experienced, but like
Yeah.
it's almost because you are trying to mask like that you really learn how, like, you can like understand things, not understand things, what's the right word for this? Like I feel like I can read like people's faces very quickly, and I feel like, I don't like, there's a lot of empathy that a lot of autistic kids have, or like adults, where you feel a lot of empathy for the people around you. It's almost like you don't know how to deal with the emotion. It's very interesting. I don't know. I feel like that's something I've also, where it's like maybe I now as an adult sometimes feel a little like embarrassed about this, but if someone's coming to me about something, I feel like I can't help but like immediately match the energy exactly where they are. Like,
no, same. I don't know where I fall on the spectrum. I haven't been tested or diagnosed or anything. I just know that I fall somewhere in there, But I very much feel that like I have that, like I take on the emotions of other people.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, like, even just watching TV. Like if somebody's awkward on TV, I immediately feel super awkward for them. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of stuff I can't engage with because it makes me incredibly uncomfortable, because I feel like and again, I don't know if that's specifically an autism thing. I just know that that's something I've struggled with for a long time, and I have the same neurodivergence that she does. And like legitimately, yeah, there are many, like when I was writing as a younger person, there were a lot of things like breakups and stuff that I'd never experienced in my life. But like, feel like because you want to mask so well, you learn to understand. Like it's almost like an actor trying to understand the motivations of a character. It's like I'm trying to understand the motivations of this particular character, whatever the character is that I'm portraying right now, in order to fit in. this
I
situation.
think I was reading an interview about her saying that like actually helped her on the Traders too,
Ooh.
because she's like, so like everybody was just like, she's so calm and laid back and everything, but it was, she's like, I learned to mask. I learned by watching other things. And she literally at one point talked about the whole, we were talking the other day about the eye contact thing. She's
Yeah.
like, when I'm truly listening, I'm probably not looking at you, but I've learned that you're supposed to look people in the eye.
Dude, literally, this is a conversation that Amy and I had a couple weeks ago about how I didn't know until I was in my 20s that people looked each other in the eye. And it
Yeah.
feels so incredibly fucking intimate. It like I almost can't think like I'm not so like as I'm learning to look people in the eye more, and I'm really working on it. Like when I first started trying to do that, like I almost couldn't hear what anybody was saying to me because I was thinking too much about how long am I supposed to look? Am I supposed to blink now? Is this looking
Yeah.
for too long? Should I look away for a second and look normal? It's like you're putting on this human suit.
Which is, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because on her How to Be Human album, she does write a whole song about that. And I want to jump to it now because we're talking about it. But she says, I
Yeah,
read
definitely.
books. And she said, I read books, watched TV shows, and and taught myself everything I know, like laughing when the joke's not funny or telling a lie over honesty. Because there's a million giveaways that me and them are not the same. And life feels like the Truman Show. There's always something I don't know. Am I
That
hiding it well?
literally it's that exact same conversation I've had with my partner. Like
Yeah.
when we were talking about eye contact and something I really, really struggle with is like talking for far too long, especially when it's something that I am very interested in. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a really hard time passing the ball. And so thinking about, I was like having this little bit of a crash out thinking about how to fit in better, about making sure that I'm listening more than I'm talking, which is something I will always struggle with, I think, especially with people I'm
Mm-hmm.
really comfortable with. Um, but I'm working on it. That's, it wasn't something I was aware of until, like maybe a year ago. But like thinking about how I'm sitting, how often am I looking someone in the eye? Have I asked them enough questions? Am I listening to what they're saying? Am I
Yeah.
going to ask another follow-up question, spend more time throwing the ball back at them so they like me more, so I fit in better? And I literally mentioned The Truman Show, or I also mentioned Third Rock from the Sun. That's a really old
Yeah.
reference. Wasn't even a show I grew up with, but I just remember watching it in like biology class. Sometimes my teacher would put it on, and if I remember correctly, the show was about these like aliens that were in human bodies and like trying to,
Yeah, I never
fit
really
in
watched it,
society.
but I remember watching the intro because it would come on after something I watched.
Yeah.
But
And like the Truman Show is a great example because, but I also feel like Third Rock from the Sun is another great example of living in it almost it like it sucks. I know that's weird. It's a weird rant, but like it almost feels like there's a little bit of a romanticism on social media with neurodivergence. And
yeah,
I fucking feel like I'm in a prison because I
yeah,
don't like you think that you fit in good and you think that you're having a great conversation and then something happens and you go, oh, like I was hanging out with my partner's dad and blah blah blah, but we're just having a good conversation. I thought we had like a good like I thought I nailed that interaction because I feel like I often don't, where it's like
mm-hmm.
I have like conversational hangovers, I feel, after being
Yeah,
around people. And I thought we were having a great conversation. Then he goes, man, I like you even if you don't ever look me in the eye. And I went, oh, okay, well, definitely not making it work. She says in the little blurb on Apple Music about how to be human, she says, if you got ADHD or autism or both like me, I always felt like there's hidden cameras everywhere and someone's about to go, stop, you've said that wrong, or you're doing life wrong. And I wanted to explore that idea of in a non-cringy way. I remember going into the session thinking, I want to make a song about being neurodivergent and what that means to me. So that's why the first verse is saying, I learned how to speak, socialize, and exist from media and TV shows. And I'm a sponge. And I wanted that song to wrap up the whole album and end it there because this is a very neurodivergent way of processing grief. It ends with the vocoder to play on the idea of people seeing neurodivergent people as a bit robotic, not showing that much emotion when there's so much going on under the surface. And I think that
yeah,
where I struggle is I don't that's the one situation where I can't keep a lid on it. Like when I'm emotional, I'm very emotional. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
openly emotional. And that's something I kind of wish that I had more of as an autistic person. Like, I don't think anyone thinks I'm a robot.
Well, yeah, and
I
I
can
think
stand
that
that.
goes into a lot too. I feel like it plays into the fact that like so many women have not been diagnosed. So like the kind of idea we have of ADHD and autism and everything is very male centered.
1000%. I didn't get diagnosed with either until I was much older. I got diagnosed with autism at 25, and it was really hard to get that diagnosis. I had to meet with many different doctors for long periods of time. They interviewed members of my family. It was a huge deal. And a lot of them, like, it was so easy for my youngest sibling to get diagnosed because they did the traditional, like, lined all their cars up in a row as a kid and, like,
Yeah.
you know, different things like that. And like you as a girl are expected to put everything up in a box. Like I remember my grandma when I was a child talking about, you don't cross your legs, you don't put your, elbows on the table. Like as a girl, you do this. And like I remember struggling, and I've talked about this like private or not privately, but like I've talked about this in other situations, but like not realizing what is considered feminine and what isn't. Like, oh, girls, you're supposed to shave and you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that and you're supposed to do that. And I never did any of those things. Like, I just didn't. And
Yeah.
only now am I trying to consciously do that. Last year at 29, I got diagnosed with ADHD as well. And that was like, I went into a psychiatrist appointment for something very different. And he was like, so you have ADHD because I have not seen you sit still this entire fucking conversation. I was like, and now that I'm medicated, I do feel more functional
Yeah.
in that aspect. But I feel like, with autism, it's this whole other level of same thing. Like I would often, like, this is why I can't believe it took me until I was in my mid 20s to be diagnosed, because I would, as a kid, stand in the mirror for hours practicing facial expressions and how I would look when I was listening to conversations. I did
Yeah.
that so much. It's like insane. Vivid memories of even like looking at myself in the rearview mirror when I'm sitting in the back seat of the van, and like, what does it look like when I smile? Does this look normal? Does this look like what it looks like on TV? Like Hillary Duff does this with her body, I should do this too. Like, trying to
Yeah.
learn how to fit in. It's such a weird thing. It's so, yeah.
And I think that I don't, and it's funny that she says that because I would not think of her as robotic at all through all of this. And actually, it's funny because when I read about her, I immediately thought of you too, and just like
Ooh.
how artistic, autistic people can be, and like you said, very emotional and empathetic people too. Like I feel like we've had this idea, and it stems from like I said, like the check boxes were all created off of males,
Yeah.
and they all get diagnosed very young. I don't think we knew a whole lot except on very severe levels what autism as an adult looked like. When the girls didn't check those boxes, they just never got diagnosed. And
I mean, I remember a time when they really thought that autism was only something boys could get.
Yeah.
Because my youngest sibling, well, she has transitioned as an adult, but my youngest sibling, assigned male at birth, like immediately they were like they saw these markers and went, that makes sense because this fits this narrative that like, I was just seen as problematic. I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't fit in and I was unlikable. And it's like, but I was trying so hard not to be. Like I remember as a kid, I was always in trouble. Always grounded, always in detention, and I literally would not understand what I was doing wrong. Like,
Yeah.
am I not sitting correctly? Or like I would get in trouble for fidgeting too much in like at my desk and get detention for that, and then get in trouble at home. And then, my youngest sibling would be fidgeting too much, but diagnosed with autism. And so they would put strips of like Velcro in their desk so they could fidget without disrupting other kids. Like, I wish I had something like that. It's
Yeah.
really, I'm glad that we're at a point in society that we are spending more time looking at women and females and stuff. And I just like, I feel sad for a younger me. I feel sad for a lot of younger girls that weren't given the proper care that they needed in order to succeed. And
Yeah.
you know what's really cool is that we, you know, now that we're all in our 20s and 30s, like we did get through. That was a big thing that, you know, doctors were talking to me about when I was going through my process of being diagnosed. They were like, well, why does it even matter to even pursue this diagnosis? You're 25 now. It's like,
Because
why
it
does it,
just
what do
helps
you
to
mean?
know sometimes.
Yeah, it's helped me in therapy and psychiatry to get the help that I needed and to work better at like fitting in my human suit, as I like to
Yeah.
say, you know, like getting the therapy I need to work on eye contact and speaking better and emotionally regulating because everyone used to think that I just had outbursts. Like I had outbursts as a kid or as an adult when I'd be really stressed out. And that's like, but that's a part of autism that I'm trying to work through.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe I had like, you know, there was a point where a therapist when I was a kid thought that I was bipolar, but I never had, or because I would have a crash out when I'd be really stressed out about something, but that's not even at all what that is.
Yeah.
Like, so I
And
don't know.
that's, Kat Burns, she wasn't diagnosed until recently.
Yeah.
And when she was in her 20s. And she talks about how she was diagnosed with ADHD and that did help and it did make sense, but there was also something that kind of like felt like it was still at war with it.
Yeah.
And that's when she, started pursuing trying to figure out why it felt like there was still something that was like fighting against the ADHD.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that we are getting diagnosed now. Do I wish that a lot of people could have been diagnosed when they were younger? Of course. I think that, but am very glad that, and I think it goes into a lot of the medical industry here. A lot of us are talking to each other too. That's one thing that I will say that social media is good for, is that a lot of us are going, hey, I was diagnosed with this. These were the symptoms I had. If you're having something similar, maybe go check it out. And that's how we're learning, I think, is because we're having to advocate for ourselves, but and research things ourselves. But I think we're learning as like more and more people get diagnosed with these things and we go online and go, hey, this is what it looked like for me. If you have
Yeah.
this, maybe go get it checked out,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think How to Be Human was such a great look into how people with autism try to fit in, or even people on the spectrum in any aspect with ADHD. I feel like, I have lots of friends who are on the spectrum. I think I fall somewhere talking to people. We think that I fall into like OCD.
There's a lot of comorbidities
But
between
yeah,
autism, ADHD, and OCD too. So
yeah.
yeah.
But like, I've felt it a little on my end. I know that like friends and people that I love, watching them try to, I think it's just a beautiful way to put that. I think she did a great job on that song for that. I think she does a good job at writing music about situations, explaining to people how things feel very well, because going back to her first album, she had a song on there called Free, which was about her coming out. And one of the lyrics I wrote down was, but you would say, keep it on the low. Nobody needs to know. They might not see you the same. But I'm too far gone. I know what I want. I know just who I am. Now I'm free. Now I'm free. There's no way you can tell me who I'm supposed to be. So now I'm free. Now I'm free. Oh, what a feeling. Oh, what a fucking relief. In an interview, she had said, I just want to help other people by being so honest about my own experiences. It's been really lovely to receive messages from people who use the song to help them come out to their parents, or that it helped their family to understand their identity. I literally wrote the song in an hour, so it's crazy to see how it has impacted in such a profound way. Someone actually messaged me and said, I feel really uncomfortable in my home since I came out, but I feel like I live in my own little world when I listen to this song. I was very aware when I was writing this song that not some people, that some people may not be in situations where it is safe for them to come out, so I wanted to give them a place to escape to when they listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was really beautiful, and I think that she did a great job. I mean, it's become from what I was reading, it's become like a queer anthem. I don't know that I had ever heard this song myself, although I did find myself singing along when it came on. Like I found some of her music very easy to pick up on, so maybe I have heard it before and just don't remember.
I think that a lot when I'm listening to new artists. I'm like, have I heard this? I feel like.
But yeah, I think it's a beautiful song. I think she writes really great music. I honestly think that the ADHD and the autism is a superpower when it comes to writing music like this. Like you said, there's obviously, by the fact that she has notes on every song, there's a lot of thought that goes into everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really, really cool. So, but that hits at least what I had for her early 20s album. That one I went through the deluxe, so there was like, what did we say, 20 something songs on it?
25, yeah.
25 songs on the deluxe, that was a joke I made with Leo. I was like, that one album is one song just over and over and over again, and clearly she has no problem writing music. But I was also joking. I said Adele wouldn't give us another album, so she just gave us these British women coming out and giving us amazing albums like fucking Ray, Her, while we're waiting for Adele to come out of hiding. Was there anything else you wanted to say on the early 20s album?
I think yeah, we covered all that pretty good.
So then going into How to Be Human, which was the first one I listened to, and we already talked a little bit about the first song on it. It's a song about her grandfather passing, and literally, like, there's a voice memo at the beginning, and then she goes right into it, and the description of like the hospital and everything, and I was just like, ugh. Again, one of those songs that like made my heart break into a million pieces immediately. I just started my walk, and I'm like at the corner of my neighborhood and crying. But I loved the line, did you know it then, or did you think you had more time? Because you made us all hold hands. Is that because you got a call from God? And that's like kind of her pre-chorus that comes back. And I think it was really beautiful. Great song. And then it moves into Can't Time Move Faster, which also had a voice recording on it, I believe, of her like crying. It put me right back in that place. I love the lines. I've been doing all the work. I've been saying the affirmations. It's hard to keep it up. Yeah, I'm running out of patience because this wasn't my choice. Wish I could change the situation. None of these decisions were mine. Can time just move a little bit faster?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was very, like, you know, you're trying. I know being in that place of grief when my grandfather passed, when you were mentioning Nat earlier, when my dogs have passed, like that feeling of like it's not going to go away is not fun. It does end though with her saying like it's going to get better. It's going to get better, you know? So there is that hope in that song. But like even just depression, like I had a few days just recently where I was super depressed and I could not come out of it. And I was like, you know, journaling, writing, you know, doing the affirmations, trying to listen to music, trying to do something that made me happy. And it's just so hard. And you know that there's going to be another side to it, but it feels like there's not, you know?
Yeah.
I think she captured that really, really well. I also really loved the song. And for some reason, I don't have this one written down, and I don't know why. Don't hate me for loving somebody new.
Is it Please Don't Hate Me?
Yes, I think so. That one was another one that like really got me, just because. So this album is very much a whole story. You got to listen to it front to back, because you see the arc of like in the beginning she's depressed, she's like wanting time to move faster. There's songs about her saying like, "Oh, I hope that when you love again you come back to me, we get back together. I know that we're meant to be together." And then there's this like moment of clarity where she finds herself and then she falls in love again. And it's like this beautiful arc. But one of my favorites was "Please Don't Hate Me." And the chorus says, please don't hate me for loving somebody new and letting them love me too. This was never part of the plan. You have to understand, I always thought it would be you. So I won't hate you for loving somebody new and letting them love you too. 'Cause time flies, pride fades. After all, we did good. And I wouldn't take it back if I could. And I just think that's such a beautiful sentiment of like, that feels very like a very sapphic perspective to me too, because there's so many women who loved another woman and then they're still great friends afterwards.
Like, very normal.
You know, there's not that hate or that anger or that, you know, and you don't see that very often in straight relationships.
No, not at all. I think when I was younger, I used to bring, like, when I would be dating a man, I would bring the, like, that, like, sapphic, like, friendship after it ended thing, and, like, try to be friends with my exes, and they were like, dude, what the fuck? Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit, sorry.
I have some that, like, I can talk to occasionally, but I'm not truly friends, you know?
Yeah, I think that there's, like, a difference in the fallout of straight relationships. I don't know. There's also this like weird, and I mean like this is a whole separate thing, but I think sometimes there might be like a weird like patriarchal hierarchy type thing that's just literally not a part of sapphic relationships where like, you know, sometimes, and I'm just going to say it, like men find some sense of ownership over someone when they're dating them. And then when they're not together anymore, it's like, well, I'm not getting anything from you. I don't really view women as people, and therefore, like I like when I'm talking to a woman, like I want to. My whole thing is I want not me. I'm like speaking as a man. Like I'm trying to get some sex out of it, and if I'm not going to do that because we're not together anymore, then get out of my fucking life. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not a Saint man, but you know.
Like yeah. No, there's a lot of men who behave that way, and. You know, even down to when you were talking about that, I was like, even down to the fact that like when you start dating somebody new, all of a sudden they pop back up.
Oh my God, yes, because they want to know whether or not they still have ownership over you, and that's just like women. We don't act that way, so it's a lot easier to be friends after the fact. It's a lot easier to be together, not be together, be together again, not be together a third time. You know, it's like, you know, that same thing with sapphic relationships, a whole like stereotype of, you know, we started dating and like within a week, you know, the U-Haul thing, U-Haul lesbians. And like I think that also comes from there's just a safety in women and in womanhood. I'm not gonna let some strange man move into my fucking house. No fucking way. That's crazy. Like but yeah, that's like maybe part of the reason why I also really like these albums is because they're written from like a sapphic perspective, and like I don't know, I feel like after a while I kind of get fatigued.
Yeah, I feel like that song definitely hit me, and because like I know from a female perspective I have felt that way, like I hope you find love again, I hope you know. And especially as someone who is in such a loving, wonderful relationship now, like I hope that you can see how happy I am,
right,
and be happy for me
to buy it, right?
Yeah, but I've always loved that idea of, especially when it's someone that you loved for so long, like still being friends with them afterwards and still wishing the best for them. And I wish that for more of the world. Unless they're a piece of shit, then don't be friends with them still. But yeah, I just thought that was a really beautiful song. Was there anything any songs that particularly stuck out to you on that album?
I think the ones that I had talked about earlier, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, it was more so like, just I liked listening to the album as a whole. And there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really a specific song that I had to like rewind and listen to again, that, like stood out because I liked all of them so much
Yeah.
and like the different flow of like how things go about. Like talking earlier about how I'm going through grief in my own way right now, too. And so being able to kind of understand where she's coming from in that situation with Come Home and Can Time Move Faster. Um, her song Sad Forever is another good one. She wrote in the little blurb, like, this was written a few weeks after my granddad passed away and everything was in turmoil. I was crying every day and in a hard place. I went to my mom's room and she hugged me and then was there for me as I calmed down. And she told me about her first heartbreak. And I wanted to explore that in a song. And I was going through this hard time. And the only person I could look to for comfort was my mom because she knew just what to say. And the chorus is like affirmations you can say to yourself. You're not going to be sad forever, but you'll have to feel it now and trust it will get better. These feelings will pass. And that's like what I was kind of had to tell myself. And thankfully, I also, my partner is someone who's experienced a significant amount of grief in their life. And they were kind of they were that person for me as,
Yeah.
we said goodbye to Natalie. And it is hard. Those like, she'd mentioned, I was reading through a lot of stuff and she says this somewhere and I'm trying to remember where she says this. I think this is in the little blurb where she talks about can time move faster. She said, I talk to myself a lot. So I made videos of me at different points in my grief journey to see where I was at. And this was a voice memo of me crying. And we wanted to hear from people. We always want to hear from people when they're out of their storm, but they say, don't worry, you can get through it and everything's going to be fine. But I wanted to document the process and people need to
Yeah.
know they're not alone in feeling what they're feeling. I always say the day after the funeral is the hardest because that's when people think you don't need them anymore. And that particularly stood out for me because, like, you know, my parents were with me as I said goodbye to Nat, and I like was having such a, I was so exhausted because I was up all night with her the day that she passed away, and because she was just really sick. And so I'm fucking exhausted and we're already into the next day. But I remember like, hysterically crying in bed and, Dave asking me like, what's wrong? And I mean, obviously he knew what was wrong, but he was just like kind of
Yeah.
listening to me talk. And I said, I don't want to fall asleep because then that means that's a day. Like I'm no longer in the day in which she was still here.
Yeah.
Um, and like, I think I was like looking for comfort from other people. Like, like I said, like my parents were with me. And then it was like a week or two before they like messaged me again. And I didn't want to be needy, but it's that same thing of, yeah, the day after a funeral is the worst because like you feel just as shitty today. If not, you feel more shitty the day after because they're not here anymore and it like hits you.
Yeah. There's no
And
distraction
there's
anymore.
literally nothing helps. And you're just sitting here in this grief and like people think, well, now that it's over, like they don't need to reach out. And you're like, no, I actually think I need this. So, she finishes what she says, like, you're supposed to go back to normal, but I wanted to show how hard it is. This is when I wanted to skip to the point where time would heal me because I felt so heavy all the time. And it does really suck when you hear that, like, especially when you're in the thick of it. And I know you know this too, of
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, I know it's going to get easier. I know I'm not going to cry. I'm going to go from crying all day to crying sometimes during the day to crying once a day to crying maybe every other day to maybe going like a whole week without crying and then crying because you realize you haven't cried in a week. And like,
Yeah.
it just like then you feel guilty because you're like, now I don't remember what they smell like and I don't remember what they sound like. And life moves on and months then go by and you're like, I can't believe it's been 5 months. And then you go, I can't believe it's been a year and I can't believe it's been 5 years. And now you're like, now they've been gone longer than they were in your life. And like, it's hard to go through that. It's
Yeah.
because that doesn't like time passing doesn't make the grief
Go away.
go away. I think it just makes it smaller, but it's still always there,
Well,
and always
that's.
will be.
I cried the other day because I forgot my grandpa's birthday for I think the first time ever. And this
Mm-hmm.
was the first year that I didn't have that subconscious. Well, maybe I did. I don't know because I was kind of going through a time, but But the subconscious sadness didn't hit me as like, oh, that's because it's this time of year, until his birthday was April 11th, and it literally just hit me 2 days ago. And then I cried because I was like, has it been so long that I don't,
Right.
which is, it does get better, and it just takes time, but you don't always want to hear that right then. You just want some comfort.
No.
So
100%, because you don't want to minimize what you're going through and be like,
Yeah.
oh, it gets better, whatever. That would never be the advice I'd give somebody. I see people say this all the time on social media, and sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, it makes me roll my eyes, but I get the concept, which is grief is like glitter, and when you first experience it, it's like a glitter bomb. It's fucking everywhere, and you can't scrub it off. It's just fucking everywhere, and you find it everywhere, and then you clean up over time, and there's less glitter on the floor. But there's always you'll always find something. Like, you could like drop a glitter project, and like 10 years from now still find fucking glitter.
Yeah,
because it never truly goes away, but it's fucking
a picture that pops up on your camera, or
right,
a toy that was lost under your bed, or
dude, I mean, it's so silly, the things that will trigger you, and that's okay. And I think the only reason I've been able to kind of heal quicker than maybe I thought that I would, not that there is a time frame for healing, but it is just allowing those feelings to come up and to be sad, and just let it be sad. Cry when you need to cry. Don't hold it in because you want to quote unquote be strong. That doesn't, just love and hurt. It is what it is.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about this album, is that she didn't, as she healed, she didn't shy away and take those songs out and be like, oh, well, I don't want people to know that I was super sad.
Yeah.
For a while. Like, she allows that space for, like, even, like I said, even the, like, you're going to come back and it's okay. And in the I'm really, really sad, I'm really depressed,
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets into the, like, I think around the time she has the song about being a Gemini. I forget, Gemini season? Gemini.
It's just called Gemini.
Yeah. When she has that song, like, it's kind of her, like, coming into the more healed part and, like, finding herself, and then she finds a new girl. Yeah, I think that the album was very beautifully done. She comes out, falls in love again. I think the whole album as a whole is just really nice.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll come back, pick one favorite song, and then wrap it all up.
DJ BRIT is happy to bring you a proper session of music listening at the beginning of every week on Twitch. With rotating themes showcasing new music, hits of the past, and specific genres, there is most definitely something for everyone to enjoy. Tune in every Monday from 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific Time as he broadcasts nothing but musical goodness live from the comfort of his home to the comfort of yours. Bedroom Radio, where there are no Monday blues, just Monday vibes.
Welcome to Know Your Rights, a music podcast from two guys who know just enough about songwriting to start a podcast about.
Follow Rob
and Colton,
as each week we dive into a different band or songwriter and discuss what makes them great, okay,
or otherwise.
Music is law,
and we know our rights.
Streaming bi-monthly wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Know Your Rights, a Bassbone Entertainment podcast.
And we are back. So just wrapping it up, if you had to pick one song, what would be your favorite?
Can Time Move Faster?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like my favorite, dude, I don't know. I didn't think about this ahead of time. You know what? I feel like I might go with Come Home, just because that was the first song I heard. And then I think I texted you right after I heard that song, and I was like,
You did, yeah.
I was not prepared. I think that the way that song impacted me right off the bat, literally 2 lines in, I was like, I'm here. This is it. I think I found a new favorite artist. And for you to hit me that quickly is really cool. So, I mean, I clearly wrote a lot of songs that I love, but if you could take one thing from studying Kat Burns this month, what would it be?
She makes a very conscious decision to write a vast majority of her songs with like a hopeful twist at the end. She'd mentioned at one point, like, she feels like songs are like spells, and if you write something negative, that negativity will just come towards you. And so having like a positive spin on a lot of turbulence can help you kind of get through things quicker. And so I think that's probably the thought I'm taking from this. Just, I think it's a great perspective, and something that I need to spend more time doing, I think, with my writing. I think she says this in the little blurb for I Wish You Well. She said this is one of her favorite songs. It's a conscious decision for me to always make higher vibrational songs than Element of Hope. I believe that songs are spells, and if you put negative energy into the world, that's what will come back to you. I'm lucky enough that I haven't experienced hard things in relationships, so I choose not to have a victim mindset. I'm not going to act like we weren't together and we didn't have a lovely relationship and we didn't try, because we did. Even though we're not speaking, I'm always sending good vibrations your way because I always want the best for you.
Oh, I love that.
That's kind of, I think, the lesson I will be taking into my songwriting process after listening to her discography.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I feel like my biggest lesson is just to, and I've talked about this before with other artists who write very honest music, but that's the kind of music I want to write. Like her Instagram bio where she says helping you get through shit one song at a time. I was reminded how important it is to write about that stuff, because I think there was a part of me, especially with the political climate, where I was like, I need to be writing songs that are important. But sometimes it's important to write songs about just plain old heartbreak too.
Yeah, it's important to write songs that are important to you.
Yeah, I think that there's importance in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like music is the language that can be understood by everybody. And so if you're writing something, whether it be about a small heartbreak, whether it be about your dog dying, whether it be about I spilled milk on the floor and I'm a little clumsy, and you know, if somebody relates to that and it makes them feel seen, then that's, you know. I think I got too stuck on I've got to write about the really important things going on right now, and not so much about just write what, like you said, write what feels important to you right now.
Yeah.
Write what you're feeling, because then somebody else might be able to relate to that, because they're feeling it too.
To you too.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is, if you haven't listened to Kat Burns, I would definitely recommend you go listen to Kat Burns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go watch her on The Traders all afternoon. That's where I'm heading right now. And yeah, let us know what you think of the album after you listen to it. After you listen to them. I highly recommend her latest one. Her first one is great, but her latest one is just such a beautiful, full piece of work.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. So, who are we doing next month, Kasey? Who we were supposed to be doing this month?
Oh, yeah. Ella Langley, because her album just came out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So next month we will be discussing Ella Langley, and we hope you guys have a great, wonderful month, and we will see you next time. Bye. Bye.
If you're looking for fun events, awesome music, and enjoyable podcasts, then look no further. The Basebone Entertainment family has you covered. With so many talented people in our community, it was only right that we not only bring you events, but all sorts of awesome entertainment. Follow Baseblown on social media or join our Discord community to stay updated and engaged in everything. That is at Baseblown on social media and discord.gg/Baseblown for our Discord. Baseblown Entertainment, bringing you more than just bass in your face.